Good evening, CFT Nation. Welcome back for another episode live of your CFT Live podcast. I'm here with Wendy Lockman. Wendy, it's been a good night. What are you thinking?
This is going to be a really interesting show tonight because we're going to dig into something that we haven't talked about yet, and it's going to bring in members' voices, our teachers, our community, our students. So I'm thinking this is going to be a great show.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Tonight we have Kevin as our producer, as always. So Kevin, thanks for being here. And we are going to have a special guest, an expert that's going to talk us through some data on the issues we're going to be talking about. So that's going to be fun. My colleague, my friend Amy also is going to join us later in the segment.
We have never had an expert on the show before, so this is very exciting. I've been looking forward to having her all week. So
yep, she helped us a ton with this show, sifting through all of the data, and there's a lot of data to look at. So yeah, it's going to be fun to hear her perspective on things. Real quick, what do we want people to do? I know we'll cover it at the end, but what do we want them to do?
We want them to keep sharing everything that we post on social media. I love it that we are already getting comments. Like I see Phyllis Slack saying, "Hey y'all," "Hey Phyllis," "Hey Marianne Spicer." We have people that are already commenting. We want them to keep doing that, right?
Yeah, for sure. Aaron Reeves said Amy's amazing. A couple of people have said that. So
Leslie too.
Amy's already getting some love on the podcast without even being on it yet.
Carrie Lee, first time I've ever been excited about data.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to try and make data not boring.
Yeah.
And that's how we do things here. We kind of
Yeah.
spice it up. All right, so like, share, keep commenting. It's great. We've got about 52 people on right now, so hopefully those numbers will go up. What do you say we get right into the show?
Okay, let's do it.
So show title is Cahokia's Climate Crisis. I know we've talked a lot about climate and culture, but we've talked about it in really a different way. Talked about it from a teacher's perspective. We talked about policies, those kind of things. Tonight, we're going to get it straight from the source, as our teaser says. What are we going to look at to talk through that?
So some survey stuff that comes from the state. A lot of parents that might be watching, you guys know about this, but it's the school report card and the 5 essentials.
Right. So it's really going to dig into the harmful school culture and climate that we've been talking about. I mean, quite honestly, this is their data. It's data that parents fill out, students fill out, and teachers fill out. So
it should be an area where we should be able to work with our school board and our superintendent. He even claims that this is one of the areas that he wants to show. It's one of his pillars that he wants to improve, but I don't know that that's what the data shows.
Data definitely does not show that, and more on that later on, what we think and how they use this information. We'll talk about that towards the end of the show.
Okay.
So let's get right into it. So the state, they collect this data and they report it to the State Board of Education. And, we go to the school report card, or at least I go to the school report card for information at times. And that's, I guess, the first real thing we're going to look at is school report card. So what you're looking at is a screenshot from the homepage of the school report card, and you can search by school district. And what we did is searched, obviously, Cahokia 187, and all the information is there. There's a wide variety of information.
Yes, and most of it is stuff that the district reports themselves.
It's self-reporting, yeah, absolutely. And as you're going to see, and I'm sure our listeners, when I say it's self-reporting, are going to know what we're talking about. There's some things in here self-reported that is very interesting. But when we get there, we'll point it out. Facts are facts, as Richard said, and we'll go from there. So we talked about where the information comes from. Where do they get the information that's on the school report card?
Well, again, some of it they report themselves. So it's what the district collects from attendance information, things of that nature. But some of the most troubling things that we found on this report card actually come from our students and our teachers and our families. It comes from a survey that everybody's asked to complete that has basically a stake in these public schools.
Right. So family, students grade 4 through 12, and teachers.
Mhm.
So let's look at the district snapshot, Kevin. So, if you look at the left, there's pull downs that you can click on a whole host of information. And the screen we're on is the district snapshot. And there's some basic information here that we can kind of talk through. 8 schools. There's a graduation rate, Wendy.
Mhm.
You know,
And this comes from the Illinois State Board of Education. So it comes from a report card that every year shows how schools, districts, and the state are performing on a lot of different areas, a lot of different goals.
right. So there's not a whole lot there on the snapshot, but just wanted to show that there is a district snapshot and there's some real basic information there. So why don't we look at some of the information that McCall reports to the district. And the first report we're looking at, and Kevin, you already have that up, you're ahead of me, so he's on top of his game tonight.
He's doing great.
He is. So we're looking at now, it's titled District Administration and Support Personnel. So there's quite a bit of information here that we should probably talk about. What do you think?
Yes. And I always have sort of trouble navigating some of this. There's a lot to break down on this. We have information about how many students receive services from different providers within our school district. Things like school nurses is one indicator. They should be there to take care of students' health needs. They should be there to handle emergencies. And if you look at some of this information, like for the school nurse, the numbers are sort of troubling to say the least.
Yeah, so we're looking at the bottom of the page here towards the left, where you see, for instance, the first category is counselor, 739 to 1. Wendy just mentioned nurses, 2,957 students per nurse. Why is that? Why in your district, why do they only have one nurse? Do you want to explain that?
Well, we have people that are not classified as school nurses. We have some people that are classified as health aides that do provide services, but my take is we only have one true school nurse by definition in the state.
And when they report the information, they have to report how many school nurses they have, and they only had one last year. Let's look at the counselors. So last year, and this data is from last year, I guess we should have said that at the top, but this data is from last year, last school year, 739 students per one counselor.
And, counselors are so important. They guide our students. They help them find, what career path they should be on. They help them plan for a career. They, guide them through any kind of social or emotional challenges that they may be facing. That's a lot of students for one counselor.
Okay. And I think we're in a good flow here. I'll kind of report the numbers and then you keep doing what you're doing.
Okay.
739 students to one social worker. That seems ludicrous.
There's so many needs for students in any school. We have battled this one for a while. I've watched so many great social workers leave our district. Those numbers are heartbreaking to me because I know how many social workers wanted to stay in our district, and it just wasn't the right place for them. It wasn't competitive pay.
Right. And then when we get to psychologists, 1,479 students per one psychologist.
Again, we've lost so many good psychologists, and some of it, ironically, is climate and culture. It's not all just about competitive pay. Some of it is just not feeling valued and going where they were valued. But the numbers and how this impacts our students, I mean, just, for anybody watching, think about if you're a kid in our district, you might not be getting some of the things you really deserve and need.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll admit, I knew the support titles, and these are professional titles, but the support titles that, help students. I knew it was bad, but I really didn't know it was these numbers.
Yeah.
Now, in contrast to those numbers, let's take a look at the middle top of this page. Keep it here, Kevin, for a minute. What does it say we have students to admin ratio?
1 to 97.
Yeah, not one admin for every 97 students. I wonder. This is an interesting question, and maybe we need to think about this down the road. How many of the administration that they list as administrators actually impact kids, actually deal with kids on a daily basis?
That would be something that we'd have to really study,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of them,
Yeah.
and some of them do.
Yeah,
have,
for sure.
You know,
I don't want to make light of it.
and work really hard. And, you know, we even have some administrators that right now came from our membership, and they've been part of our district for a long time. So we're not trashing our admin at all.
No.
But as far as some probably have very little, if any, interactions with students.
Yeah, I mean, when you 739 to 1 counselor and you have 97 to 1 administrator, you have 3,000 basically to 1 nurse. Those numbers are out of whack.
Yeah.
Well, since we're talking about the numbers and being out of whack, let's look at the next slide, Kevin. So I'll break down, Wendy, what we're looking at, and then you can talk about the numbers. So this is kind of the same thing, but just in a chart for you to look at to make it easier to see. So students per staff member, again, counselor, you see in red is Cahokia, 739 to 1 student. The state average is blue. So the state average is 491 students to 1 counselor. So again, well above, almost double, 75%, I guess, over that state average. How about nurses?
Look at the numbers. For red would be Cahokia's numbers, the number of students per nurse. But look what's recommended by the state.
Yeah.
And when you even compare it to the state average, I mean, that's just heartbreaking again.
Yeah. Psychologists the same way. Cahokia is about double what the state average is. Now let's contrast that with the far right column, and you're smiling, so I'll let you explain this one.
So even prepping for the show, I knew the numbers, but I hadn't seen the graph that we created. And obviously I didn't create it. I just kind of gave that away. But when I looked at I just looked at it from like the color standpoint, where Cahokia, counselor, nurse, social worker, psychologist, these numbers are so high. The only place on here where we, meet, we're actually below the recommended numbers for the number of admin.
Yeah, you're actually way below the state average on admin, which again, you look at the graph, it's really easy to see. Is it surprising though, based on all the things we've uncovered and so? I mean, this is. I probably would expect it to be worse than that. And a couple slides down the road, we're going to see what the actual numbers are.
Right.
So, yeah. I mean, it's very sad that they're overstaffed there, but understaffed on all the really important support services that students need.
Where kids actually interact with adults and professionals, it's lacking. And so, your boots on the ground people, the people that support our children and give them all the things that they need to thrive, the numbers are not where they need to be, except one.
Yeah, and they're probably more than they need to be in that one. Okay, well, that's just kind of a little taste of where we're going with this, a little flavor, so to speak.
Yeah.
What do you say we move into one of our favorite segments? So what time is it?
It's time for me calling you out.
Breaking news. That sound is always fun.
Yeah.
I would probably be a terrible newscaster because I would laugh when that sound came on every time. Okay, so this session of calling you out we've noticed some interesting pieces here, especially about the administrators, you know, the numbers being extremely high, right?
Mhm.
But those aren't the true numbers of administrators. You know, as we've said before, we've requested information and they give us a list of all administrators in the district, what they classify as administrators in the district. And that slide said we had what, 97 to 1, I guess. So Kevin, let's go to the next slide. Nope, sorry. What are we looking at here? The slide, the information that he gave us actually shows a lot more administrators than what they actually have. They say they have 30 administrators towards the bottom here. And the information they gave us actually is 55. So
Right.
they have almost double the administrators that they self-report that they have. That is very interesting.
Yeah, it is. Well, and I think the next slide, okay, I think the one that Kevin just hit on, kind of goes into some stuff that we're going to discuss
for
in
sure.
a moment. But we know, especially people that work in my district, you know it because I've shared it. We know that a lot of new positions in the last couple of years have been created and they are listed as administrative jobs.
Right.
They aren't, though, the traditional thing that a parent or a taxpayer might think of. It's not necessarily like an assistant principal at the high school or an assistant superintendent or a title that they've heard of. There's a lot of jobs, they're not union jobs, that are paid an admin salary and they're listed as admin and they are not being reflected in there. So that number, as you just reported, is really a lot higher than what somebody looking at this data might suspect.
I mean, we've talked about it before. Some of the titles they have: director of this, director of that, you know, CBO. Other school districts don't have some of these titles. They just don't. I mean, it's, you know, the traditional titles: superintendent, assistant superintendent, director of curriculum, you know, those types of titles. They might have a business officer, but your district has a lot of made up titles. So, so with that said, and we've shown this before, but it's worth touching on now as well. What's happening with salary trends? We're in bargaining, right? And it's good to point out where we are with the administrators versus salary, and this ties right into this slide. So let's go to the next slide, Kevin. So,
you know, this is really going to make my members angry, by the way, if they haven't ever looked at this.
It is. But I mean, they know it. They've lived it. They're living it, right? They know it without knowing it. Sometimes. Yeah, for sure. So again, on the school report card, one is on the teacher tab, one is on the administrator tab. I often go to this just to kind of get a quick snapshot of where administrators are paid versus where my teachers are paid that I represent. So top slide is teachers. So in 2016, what does this data reflect, Wendy?
So we're well below the state average where we need to be.
In 2016, we were right on with state average, though.
We were. But if you start kind of just looking at that, it's the lighter green number. We are not keeping up at all with that state trend.
No. The last 8 years, you've fallen 16,000 behind state average. You know, in 2016, you were pretty much right on track. You were a little below, about $800 below state average for the average salary. And in 8 years, you've fallen behind $16,000 behind state average. Not surprising.
It's not, because you would have the little anecdotal stories from people who would say, "Well, I hate to leave Cahokia, but I just got hired," and they would name a different district, and then they would talk about the pay difference, and we would find ourselves going, "What?
Right.
Making that much difference?"
Right.
Because there used to not be that big of a difference between some of our districts. Not like this.
Right. Now, I feel like we could say this for almost everything. Let's contrast that with the bottom portion and administrators. In 2016, where were they?
$9,000 off of the state average.
Yep. They were about 9,000 different from state average. Where are they today? 8 years later.
Pretty much even. You can see how our admin slowly have caught up to the state average.
Yep. And my guess is if McCall had his way, they would be way above state average.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Even though when you compare those two, just the visual of how teachers are making less than average and admin, it's not the case.
That is very true. So Kevin, let's look at the next chart. So, this is the other piece that's really interesting. And all we did is we updated the previous chart you looked at with the actual numbers that they reported to us. As we said, they self-report this to the state. Administrators that they report are licensed administrators. The information that they report to us is everyone that's in an administrative title, right? So the actual figures based on data provided to us is 54.5 students to every administrator.
And that feels more accurate. I mean,
Right.
I hate that it's true, but it does.
Yep. So they're more than double. They're less than double the ratio of what the state average is.
I mean, when you just think about too, for every child, I mean, for every admin, 54 kids, 54 and a half.
I know. And again, how many of those administrators never set foot in a school building?
Many that I can think of.
Yeah. And maybe one day we'll try and figure that out. That would be a good, maybe a good segment to use.
Okay. I like that.
Well, that, I think the last piece I'll say here before we jump into the next, that this is all really misleading with the administrators. It's extremely misleading with what they report versus, and you're going to see a trend on that. So,
okay.
All right. Well, that's your McCalling you out. We have a special segment to bring to you tonight after our McCalling you out. And we decided we had so much information that we were going to do a
below the belt.
Okay. So McCall and a belt.
Have we ever had a McCalling you out and a below the belt?
We have never. It's been one or the other. I think it's fitting. So where should we start? We should start by saying that, and I said this to the school board the other night.
Yeah, so let's talk about the board meeting for just a second.
Okay, go ahead.
So we had, Cahokia had their monthly board meeting, and we once again asked for it to be moved someplace that could hold a larger audience. They keep moving it to kind of one of the smaller schools in the district. It's in an out of way place, but we had a good turnout. A lot of people showed up.
Yeah.
And I said some things. We had two of our members also address the board, and you addressed the board. That's kind of what we're going to talk about.
Yeah. Just real quick, could you touch on what the other two members said? Because you and I had a conversation today about this, and I hadn't thought about it till you mentioned it. So could you just touch on that real quick?
And actually, I didn't think of it either. Somebody at lunch said they really thought it was neat that two people got up and talked about sort of a global perspective of what it was like to work in Cahokia when they started and what it's like now. And they talked things like when they began, it was so competitive to get a job. One of them talked about how he had devoted almost 30 years to the district. And he used to be able to, if he knew of an opening, talk to people in education that he knew and say, there's a job in Cahokia. I think you'd be great for it. People were enthusiastic about that years ago.
Right.
And now when he has the exact same types of conversations, he gets such negative reactions that the sentiment in our area about jobs in Cahokia, it's just changed much that people are like, oh, I don't know. There's hesitation, or you can see that they're not interested just by where it's at. And he's defended our district for a lot of years and talked it up because he loved it so much. And it's,
Yeah, both of your members said that.
yeah. The other person, they were both bargaining team members that spoke.
Mhm.
Her comments were almost exactly the same. And she told the same story about loving Cahokia and how important it's been and how it's hard to see what's happened, but where people no longer are eager to come work in our district. And they didn't plan that. That was just both of them speaking from the heart about our district.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask you a question, and maybe it's going to put you on the spot, but I know you're fine with that. Would you say, and kind of based on what you just talked about, would you say that your district, from other teachers' perspective in the surrounding community, your district has a negative, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, help me.
Like reputation?
Yeah, negative reputation, almost that people kind of wonder why you're still there. Have you ever had that question?
Definitely. So when I started, I feel like people thought I was pretty lucky to get a Cahokia job. The pay was great, and that's not why I didn't even apply anyplace else. I just wanted to work there because I student taught there. It was great.
Mhm.
But definitely in the last few years, people have said things, and it's never about the students or the community itself. It's these stories that are coming out of Cahokia about our management and how there's
Right.
like, people leaving and the pay is no longer competitive and just a lack of respect.
Yeah. I mean, I've had people question me in the job that I do. How do I deal with that administration in Cahokia? And I don't get that anywhere else.
Yeah.
So interesting. All right. So let's move into the below the belt. You kind of set the stage for what we're going to talk about.
Mhm.
I spoke to the board about some things that we've been told, allegedly. And I said this to the board the other night, we receive tips and information almost on a daily basis. We
Me
get
too.
emails, we get text messages, we get phone calls. We even get things left at my office with no return address, nothing on the front of the envelope, thrown through the slot at night.
All kinds of tips. I've gotten something in my mailbox at school before. I messengers, things on Facebook and things like that, but definitely lots of information.
So we received a couple of tips, and look, we try to run down all these tips. We try to figure out how can we get information to prove what they're saying. Some of them, there's no way for us to figure out if it's true or not.
Mhm.
But these two seem like we could probably do something here, right?
Yeah.
So we sent a FOIA. I sent a FOIA on behalf basically of the district, but I use my name. And I sent 3 of them based on the tips that we had. Now, we don't have any direct knowledge that this is happening. So it's based on tips, but we're using the FOIA process. The FOIA process is there for us to use to figure out if these things are really happening. So what are we talking about?
Oh, I thought you were asking me.
I am asking you, what are we talking about, Wendy?
So one of the things is an allegation that employees are being paid to work in the district without actually showing up and performing any work.
Right. And the allegation kind of went a little further,
Mhm.
that some are working a full-time day job elsewhere while being paid by the district.
Yeah.
And the role that they're in the district is a day job. It's not a custodial night job or whatever.
Right.
And then the second allegation is that, again, allegation that Director of Human Resources, Stephanie Bell, had taken her mother's Medicare supplement bill to the district, stamped it approved with her stamp, passed it on to whoever is going to pay it,
Mhm.
and it was paid out of district funds over and over and over again. That's the allegation. Again, we don't know if it's true or not, but we sent some FOIAs. We sent them last week, and I got a response from the attorney today. They're requesting a 5-day extension. which is normal. I mean, we requested a lot of information.
Yeah.
And he told me that our 5-day extension is business days, MLK's in there, I believe, and that we will get an answer on the 26th with our FOIA request. So we figured in the below the belt, since Stephanie Belt is a big part of this FOIA request, that we would talk you through our FOIAs to show you exactly what kind of information we're looking for and maybe explain why we requested the information that we have.
Right. And, you know, from the very beginning, we talked about how we want to be really transparent with anybody who takes the time to listen to our story, be a supporter, so that you know where we're getting this from, that we're not just, you know, making stuff up. We want to be transparent and credible. So we're going to show you what we've requested.
And we're going to show you the results when we get the FOIA request. Yep. So let's talk about the first one. First one is record request for the employees that we were told don't have to report to work, basically. So I sent the FOIA, used some FOIA language, and then we kind of go back and forth on these things that we requested, Wendy, just so I'm not talking the whole time.
Okay.
So for the following employees, Minnie Taylor, Arnett Harvey, Leonard Manley, and Stephen Brown, request the records for the last 3 school years. So what do we request?
So we're asking for their timesheets each week.
Uh-huh.
We want to know about their payroll stubs and any payroll records, so anything at all. And if they had contracts or any kind of special agreements or amendments.
Right. Salary information for each individual. So we want to know what they made base salary, if there was any stipends paid, any other things that were paid, bonuses, reimbursement allowances, or supplemental payments. So we can see what they're actually being paid.
And number 5 is their daily fob or key card access reports, date, time, access, location, when they clocked in, when they clocked out.
Yeah. So, and just the kind of, you know, we're looking for payroll information to show someone was paid. We know they were paid because we received information, but we want the actual records. We're looking for fob reports because that would tell us they came to the building. They left the building when they left, right? Mm-hmm. If they're not coming to the building, they're not going to have any fob reports.
Well, and in my role, and you know this because you support me in this, anytime an employee that's a union member, if there's a question, this is the first thing that's pulled is the fob reports to show if
Correct.
People were actually going to work, or if, you know, in some cases we do have people who tried to steal time. Yeah.
So in addition to fob, we're asking for true time reports. True time is where you clock in and out kind of thing, right?
At our desk. So in our district, we have to do both. Most employees are asked to fob in and out of buildings, not all, but many. And then we also have to log into a special system called True Time.
Yep. Number 7.
Daily schedules of hours worked, reporting and ending time.
Yep. That would show, hey, you know, this person is supposed to be here from 8 to 4. And then we can back that with the actual payroll records, True Time with the fobs that show they were coming in at 8 and leaving at 4.
Including like also like their assignment, if they had a workstation or a building that they were supposed to be in.
That's correct, because I'm told some of these people don't even have an office, a phone extension, or anything like that. And we look that up in the district phone book. What's it called? It's not a phone book. District.
I know what you
directory.
mean. Yeah,
district directory. Thank you, Kevin. We asked for district email login timestamps, so it would show they're logging in and out of email, that they're working,
doing anything.
Right.
And any remote work requests or denials or approvals. So if somebody's getting to do that, you would think there'd be a paper trail of when that decision was made.
Yep. And then the last thing on this one is any and all emails assigning work or completing work to or from the individuals above. So surely if these people are working, a supervisor was sending them things, they were sending things out to staff or a supervisor, you know, back and forth kind of thing. So we'll see what we get. You know, again, just wanted to go through the first one, kind of tell you what we were looking for. And if we get documentation that shows they reported on time, they were at work, we'll come back and tell you, hey, the tip we got was not correct.
And I hope that's the case. I hope that I work someplace where this is the kind of thing that happens. We wanted to check on it. We've had
Yeah.
a lot of people ask.
I will point out too, in bargaining the other day, Stephanie Belt was not there, but I did ask Superintendent McCall and Assistant Deputy Superintendent Mitchell some of these questions. Did they know if anybody was coming to work, being paid without coming to work? Did they know about Stephanie Belt's mom? Did they know anything about that? And the questions that they did answer, they said they didn't know anything about any of it.
Right.
So, okay, let's move on to FOIA number 2.
Sure.
Which one are we looking at, Kevin? Okay, we're looking at the healthcare supplement payment.
Okay. Yes. And so this is one that you also mentioned last night, Ray. So,
Yep.
So this one is for employee Minnie Taylor, and you're requesting records for the last 5 school years.
Mm-hmm.
So explain what this is.
So I asked for, in number 1, all United Healthcare supplemental insurance and personal health account, PHA, HSA statement forms addressed to Minnie Taylor's home for the last 5 years. So this is a Medicare supplement payment. So it's part of Medicare. You can buy a supplement when you're on Medicare, and they send you a bill to your home.
Okay.
And then you have to pay that, and that's part of your health insurance as being on Medicare. We've been told, allegedly, that the district is paying that for her when it's addressed to her house, and Stephanie Belt has approved it, allegedly.
Okay. That'd be interesting to find out if that's true.
Yep. How about number 2?
So any and all payments made to United Healthcare on behalf of Minnie Taylor using district funds for the past 5 years, including the amount paid, the date of payment, any and all approval authority, the authorization documents, approvals, anything that would show.
Yep. So what I'm looking for here, and what I want, is anyone that touched that.
Okay.
Anyone that had access to say, yes, send it on, pay it. The person that said, I'm going to pay it. The person that wrote the check for it. I want to know every piece in that chain.
I want to know that too.
Yep. Number 3, any and all records of payments made to United Healthcare on behalf of Minnie Taylor. So if they made the payments, there will be a record of checks that were cut. The check number, there will be a canceled check from the bank, because we've received those for other FOIA requests.
Yeah.
So if this is happening, the information's out there.
So we have one more FOIA.
Uh-huh.
And this one, there it is. You've asked for any and all incoming and outgoing emails, including attachments, for the past 5 years, to or from Curtis McCall Jr., Tanya Mitchell, or Stephanie Belt, containing any of these keywords. And then you list.
Yeah.
You want to read them?
Yep. Minnie Taylor, Medicare, supplemental, insurance, hours, salary, payment. And then I asked for emails to or from Minnie Taylor pertaining to her daily tasks, job duties, assignments, scheduling, hours worked, or responsibilities.
Yep. And then any and all emails between Stephanie Belt and Minnie Taylor.
Yeah. So this FOIA request could potentially show a few things. One, it could show if any of these people knew this was happening, McCall, Mitchell, or Belt. There might be emails to and from, and then the later part is going to be, it's going to show, you know, was she actually working? Was she actually doing work for a paycheck that we know she received?
Yeah.
So, anything else?
No, but I'm very interested to see what we get back from this.
Yeah, so stay tuned. On the 26th, we'll hopefully have some more information. So that is your below the belt. All right. Our friend and our colleague, Amy Alsop, has joined us for the next segment. Thank you, Amy, for joining us.
Oh, thanks, Ray and Wendy. I'm really glad to be here as a guest tonight.
And not only, yeah, it's going to be fun. So not only thanks for being here, but thanks for all the hard work that you did to get us prepared for the show, to walk us through what things look like. And we're going to rely on you heavily in this next portion of our main segment to kind of help us understand some of the more complicated things of some of this data. So appreciate it again.
I've been excited to have her all week. So I just so appreciative that you took the time to be here tonight. We were kind of hoping that we could start by having you explain what your job is.
Sure, I'll try very quickly. So I am a Union Professional Issues Director for the IFT. I've been in this position for almost 22 years. Before that, I was a classroom teacher, just like you were, Wendy. And in my role at the IFT, I do a couple different things. The best part is I provide support to locals, like Local 1272. Lots of locals in this region. I also work on providing professional development, and I also work on education policy, where I go to the state meetings representing our union and speaking on behalf of our members. And one of the things I've done since 2011 is be involved in the state work on the school report card. So when I first saw your early podcast, I thought, I wonder what the school report card shows.
And those report cards are kind of complicated. I mean, I've looked at them a number of times, but it's wonderful to have somebody from the IoT that has all that background with that. We've used you, though, for so many things over the years. Cahokia calls on Amy a lot.
And Amy retires this year, so we're going to be sad to lose her expertise.
So much, yeah.
You know, I'm happy for her that she's going to
look at all the people in the comments are talking about what an amazing support you are. So
you're embarrassing.
Yeah. Well, thanks for telling us what you do. And that's only a little part of what Amy does. Like, I wear Amy out with phone calls on technical things, school code, and, you know, her expertise, licensure, all of those types of things. This week, I think I probably used my phone calls up for a few weeks with Amy this week alone.
Oh my gosh, the last year or two, I'll call, is this how you're supposed to do special ed for this or whatever?
Right.
Bothering me.
Exactly. Okay, so let's get right into it. I think everybody knows Amy, at least most people do, and she kind of introduced herself. So we're going to talk to Amy about the 5 Essentials survey is what we really want to talk to her about. Amy, real briefly, do you want to just kind of tell us what the 5 Essentials survey is?
Sure, I'd be glad to. So the 5 Essentials survey is a school climate survey. It was developed out of the University of Chicago. It is one of the school climate surveys that's available to districts to use, to administer, to go on the school report card. It's not the only one, but it's the one the majority of districts use. And the thing that's really cool about the school climate survey data is it's one of the few places where parents and teachers and students actually have input in shaping what that part of the school report card looks like. Most of the information either comes from districts or from test scores. And this is where the people who live and work in the communities and schools actually get to weigh in on what it's like in their school buildings.
Yeah, and that's why we kind of wanted to have you on to talk about that piece, because that's a perspective that's needed on the podcast. We really want to hear from the community, everybody, and that this kind of captures that.
So what was one of the first things you noticed, Amy, when looking at the survey?
I would say one of the first things I noticed is that families, teachers, and students have consistently high participation rates. And I see Kevin's put up a graphic to show student, teacher, and survey parent participation rates. That's the blue line for Cahokia. And then the red is the state average. And consistently for each group in each building, Cahokia's participation rate is above the state average. I took some look going back a few years
Mhm.
to look at some trend data, and the pattern that you see here on this slide for 2024, 25, like that's the same pattern. Parents, students, and teachers are going out of their way to fill out these surveys.
So 2 questions, one for you, Amy, and then one for you, Wendy. So I assume you've looked at other response rates for other districts?
Yeah.
Are they don't look like this, do they?
Not like that, not so consistently for each group in each building over time.
Okay.
That's what makes it unusual to me.
Right. And either one of you can answer this. Why do we think that is happening in Cahokia?
We kind of talked about it, and one thing that, and I polled a few members too to just kind of ask, but we're consistently as teachers really pressured to make sure we've completed it. So there's tremendous pressure for staff to do this, for teachers to do
Pressure
this.
from admin?
Yes.
Okay.
But also a lot of encouragement to get every kid to fill it out that's eligible, and to get families. They run reports to let us know who didn't do it. So there's a big push in Cahokia, robocalls, things like that. But then we talked about other reasons why.
Well, I mean, response rate is part of the calculation for the school's accountability scores, which also go on the report card. So that could be what it is. The district's wanting to improve their accountability ratings.
Yeah.
And therefore the push to get the surveys answered by all 3 categories.
Possibly.
Okay.
There may be a desire from the stakeholders themselves, though,
Oh yeah.
to share their
I don't want to sell
story.
them short.
Maybe some of this is that they want to weigh in on issues that really matter to them.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else we need to touch there on this? If not, I'll move into the 5 indicators or categories that affect success in student learning. You want to talk about that a little
Yeah.
bit?
If you've never taken one of these surveys, there are a whole lot of questions. And the questions are specific to the audience, either students or teachers or parents. That's the language of the 5 essentials.
Mhm.
And then all of those questions are coded into one of 5 categories. And they're like big buckets, right? How effective is leadership? How involved are families? What's the climate like in the school? What's the, like, how collaborative are teachers? What's the level of instruction? Like, those are the big buckets. And so what the state does then, it generates a little graphic for each school that, gives you like an infographic view of how each of those buckets came out. And so what you'll see is that, like,
Close up. What do you always say? Close up.
No, extreme close-up.
Extreme close-up.
It's from Wayne's World.
Extreme close up.
It made me very nervous. The idea with this little graphic is you've got all 5 categories. They're all color coded, and you can look at a glance and see, like, oh, okay, maybe effective leaders is an area of concern. Oh, we're really strong in parent involvement, right? And so there's like the continuum is like, if you're strong or very strong in an area, it's going to be coded as green.
Do you want to pull up do you want us to look at now?
Let's do that.
Now be a good time to look at it.
Yeah, like if an area is strong, like you can see, it's a little square with circle in the middle. Each one of those represents one of the 5 categories. And if you see green or really dark green, that shows an indicator a category is strong. If you see yellow, the 5 essential survey calls that neutral. So not strong, not weak, just sort of there. And then if you see orange or dark red, that's a sign that that category is weak or very weak. If you see gray, it means there was no data, because kids under 4th grade don't take the survey. So that's why some of the buildings, like these are your elementary buildings where there's some gray. Yeah.
So this indicates all of the buildings in Cahokia. Should a district use this data for anything in either of your opinion?
I mean, from the, the conversations I've been at the state level,
Yeah.
like the intent is from the state's perspective, because this costs money. The state
Absolutely.
devotes taxpayer resources to doing this. The goal is really to provide more data to schools and to district leaders. Like, you would be looking at this information and saying, okay, like, I'm gonna look at the high school's data there. So we've got 3 categories neutral, 2 that are weak. What are families and teachers and students saying that leads them to say that if leadership is weak at Cahokia High School? Like, that's the intent. It's to give more data to help make better decisions in the district. And it's also so that families and community members can go in and see, like, how are things in our buildings?
Right.
Like, what's this, how do people feel? Like, that's the intent.
And to improve that climate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the things the researchers behind this 5 essentials have learned, because they've been giving this survey for decades, is that if you have at least 3 of those categories of the 5 that are green, like, that's a building that is supporting teaching and learning. And you're on track to making sure that kids get what they need and teachers have the systems in place. They need supports, the school support personnel, like counselors and social workers are there. All of those pieces come into play in these 5 categories of the survey.
So I know you said this, but I'm gonna say it again. So green is good, kind of
Green
like a
is good.
stoplight.
Green
Green
is
is good, yellow's neutral, red is not good.
Red
Okay.
is concerning, yeah.
Yeah, so when you look at the schools here, there's 8 schools, 5 blocks for each school. So that's 40 total. I see how I did some simple math there.
Nice.
Multiplication. So you have 14 red, 20 yellow, and 6 gray where no data. So the majority is in the yellow or red categories here, which is not good according to the data.
That's what the data tell us. Like, they have shown over time, the more green you see, like the more likely that the conditions are in place to support teaching and learning. And there's just, like, sadly, there's just no green in Cahokia.
Right.
Well, sadly, maybe Cahokia spent the green.
You always get the zingers in, the one-liners that are great.
No, but when we look at that, that is shocking, really. I mean, we, as teachers, we sometimes get these results, but when you see it all together like this and hear Amy talk about it, it feels like we're focusing on the wrong things.
And,
Right.
and it tells you it's a district-wide issue, right? This isn't alone. This isn't happening in pockets. This is a systemic problem across the district, and that's concerning.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing I know the 3 of us talked about with this is there's a couple of categories in here, like ambitious instruction. Can one of you speak to that? And collaborative teaching as well.
From the survey perspective.
From the survey
Yeah,
perspective, because what I don't want our viewers to take away from this is ambitious instruction means teachers are bad if it's yellow or red.
No, I think that's important. And I think the collaborative teachers piece is important too, because if you dig into the actual survey questions, like under collaborative teachers, for example, all of the questions are related to, are there systems in place to support teacher collaboration? The questions are not like, is there time that the district has during the day for teachers to meet together, to work with each other? What's structured? Is there professional development that allows teachers to get together? The kind of good PD we know actually improves practice. The interesting thing about the effective instruction, when you dig in question by question, is you can go down from, like, this is like the balcony view, right? These 5 categories. You can go all the way down to, like, the dance floor and read each question and see what the responses are.
Right.
And where you start to see green show up question by question is around instruction that students are receiving. Questions about, do we have robust instruction? How is English, math? How is science instruction? That's where you start to see green show up. And that's student reported. That's students' feelings on how they're, what it's like in their classroom. And when you think about, I know you've all talked about on previous podcasts, how many long-term substitutes you have, like the fact that that's even showing up at all is like a credit to all of the people teaching kids in Cahokia.
For sure.
With all the barriers you have.
Well, I think that was a really important thing to highlight, because I know as a teacher, when I look at that, it can just even seeing the different colors, it can feel discouraging because you work really hard. But if the systems and the leadership isn't there to provide opportunities to collaborate, to do some of the things that are counted on the survey, again, it's discouraging. But when you dig deeper, and that's why it's important for somebody like you to show us that there are some positives here.
There really are. And it's really happening at the building. I would say this, like speaking sort of generally, it's happening at building levels.
Mhm.
You know, there are questions about teacher principal trust. Those data are better at the building level.
Okay.
Student teacher trust is better at the building level, but system-wide is what, system-wide things that are lacking are priorities that don't align to improve teaching and learning. That's what this image Kevin's showing is saying.
And that's really what we've talked about on this podcast over and over again. District priorities are not where they need to be.
I took a few notes that I want to highlight here too. And you may have said this, but I think it's interesting to point out again that schools which are strong on at least 3 out of the 5 indicators are 10 times more likely to improve student outcomes.
That's what the data show from Chicago.
And then the other thing I found interesting is we're going to talk about what some of these findings tell us about school climate and how urgent it is, such a district-wide issue. So, let's talk a little bit about safety, school safety. I know that's a big part of the survey as well. So,
yeah, there are questions asked multiple different ways for students and teachers, asking them basically, how safe do you feel in your building every day? Like
I remember these questions.
in the hallways, in the classroom, wherever, like, how safe do you feel coming to school? Those sorts of questions. And I looked at the data for 2025. I looked back a few years. It's super troubling, the safety responses at every building year by year for the last 3 years consistently. And what I found is just looking at the 2025 data, the high school, Worth Parks, and the Sauget School of Choice students rate their safety. They rate their safety as weak. And then at Penniman and Huffman, students rate their safety as very weak. But we don't have data for those other 3 buildings, E. Morris and Maplewood and Lawlemere, just because kids are below 4th grade.
Right, they don't take it.
Where we have data and you look at the questions about safety, students say they don't feel safe.
Wow.
And then I looked at the teachers' data. Their results are similar at the high school and Worth Parks and Huffman and Lawlemere. Teachers all rate their safety as weak. At Penniman, teachers rate their safety as very weak. Penniman is like, I look at Penniman's data and just my heart breaks. And then at Maplewood, E. Morris, and the Sauget School of Choice, teachers showed neutral ratings on their safety. So, I mean, there's a few positives there, but for the most part, if you look at, like, do teachers and students feel safe in the buildings? Then the answer is really no. And that's,
how can you learn when you don't feel safe?
you can't, like, safety
Right.
has to come
Yeah.
first.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for breaking that down. That's really informative, and it's important for
So-
us to bring that to light for sure.
Before we jump into something else, just a couple of quick kind of things. So does your district, Wendy, and you can speak to this, and I know we've talked about this before. This data is there, right? It tells us a lot of information, right? If you really look, like Amy's deeply looked at the data. Does your district use the data to make things better?
I don't think there's really a systematic approach that's being used across the district to, or at least one that's communicated. If it's there, it's not apparent to me. I reached out to a few teachers in different buildings, and it's kind of hit or miss. Some buildings it's shared. It's been shared with me before, but as far as it being used in a way that's very intentional, I'm not aware of it.
The only question that comes to mind is, as the union president, has the district ever come to you and said, hey, we want to create a committee of all the stakeholders in the building, and we want to look at our climate through this survey? And we want you to recommend some teachers, some staff members, some custodians, some secretaries, all the titles you have. And we're going to sit down and we're going to spend a couple of days and we're going to dig through this data. Have they ever done that?
No, they have not. And I think back to the beginning of the summer. I mean, we drafted something asking for basically a more collaborative relationship with them to discuss all the important reasons why we're losing staff and why we're having trouble retaining people. And, you know, but certainly they have not reached out. I would be eager for that to happen.
For sure. Okay, well, I mean, this just is another kind of way the climate and culture is not good in Cahokia. We've talked about it over and over and over again from staff's perspective on procedures, policies, you know, the sick leave thing, all the different ways that McCall and his leadership are bad for culture and climate. This is just another example from the stakeholder, students, from staff, from families, and you can't hide from data. I mean, data is the data. Facts are facts, as someone said earlier. So again, culture and climate are in the tank in your district, and it's sad. It's really sad.
It is.
All right, so we're running long. We're over an hour, and we want to wrap this thing up. But I didn't keep us on track, and I want to go back and revisit a couple of slides just real quick. Kevin, can you pull up the ones? Yep. So as we said earlier, that the district is now to 54.5 students per administrator. What we want to do is look at just real quick some peers. So if you look at East St. Louis, they're at 94-1, pretty much double where the district is. If you look at Belleville 201, Belleville High School, 154 students to 1 administrator. That's pretty much triple. If you look at Belleville 118, the junior high district, 161-1, Wendy. And then lastly, Granite City, 263 students to 1 administrator.
That's incredible.
It just shows and reemphasizes what we've been saying all along. He's a job creator in a bad way that takes care of friends, family, and for favors. So, you know, it is what it is. We're going to keep calling things out, and that is your main segment in your show. Let's talk about, what do we have coming up? Do we have anything coming up that you know of?
Well, we are going to be meeting with some groups from our unit. Okay, we have some important talks coming up. We have bargaining this week.
Right.
We're asking our members to keep all board meetings on their calendars for each month.
Go ahead. Sorry, I'm trying to signal Kevin, and he's looking at me like he doesn't know what I'm talking about. I need you to grab me those papers on that. I'm going to interrupt you. He doesn't read my mind like I want him to. The other papers, Kevin.
That's funny.
Yes, thank you. I need to be nicer to Kevin.
He is so great.
Thank you, Kevin. I really appreciate you, my friend.
So every Monday is going to be wear your union shirt Monday.
Okay.
And this week we are working to rule. So we're asking teachers to leave the buildings and go home when we're supposed to.
Yeah.
And not put in a bunch of extra free time until this
Right.
contract gets settled. And we're planning to bargain tomorrow night.
Can't wait for that. Okay. Way to bring the show to a grinding halt with that. All right. So what do you say we do parting thoughts? And since we have a special guest, we are going to give her a chance to share any parting thoughts she would like.
Okay, well, thank you. So I think my parting thoughts are, it's like the messed up priorities in this district from the top to are concerning, right? And heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at some of the comments that are coming through the chat about how kids feel in their school. Is anecdotally, like kids should feel like the schools are a welcoming, safe place. Teachers should feel like it's a safe place. The reason the state invests so much in putting this report card out every year and doing the climate surveys is like to give districts more information to make things better, to use the information that's on the report card, and also for transparency, to let families know what's happening. And like you said, there's a lot there. It's hard to sift through and really figure out like what's the story based on all this information, because the state has so much information there. But the thing that I think is especially interesting about the school climate survey is it's a chance for families and kids and teachers to share what they think is happening.
Yeah.
And what's so troubling to me in Cahokia, after listening to you talk about like how this is treated, is like, first of all, it's a missed opportunity for there to be improvements made to teaching and learning in schools. So it feels like a welcoming, safe place that values learning. And the other thing that it really says to me is that it undermines stakeholder voice.
Mm-mm.
Like this is
Nice.
where people have an opportunity to speak up and tell the district, hey, we don't feel safe in our buildings. Hey, we think that there's rigor in the instruction here.
Mhm.
We think that the trust between teachers and students is good. We think families should be involved more. Like those are the kind of things people are saying. And they're trying to send that message to the district and it's being ignored. And to me, that's one of the things that really is just, there's no reason for it. Like you should care what families and students and teachers think, and all the staff in the buildings. And the message they're sending is they don't care.
Right.
And staff and teachers and families and students, everybody deserves better than that. Everybody wants better than that. That's my parting thought.
They deserve it.
They do deserve it. And I love the words missed opportunity, because that's, you're absolutely correct. Thank you for that.
Agreed. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate that.
Am I up?
Yeah, I have to end it with just a couple of things people want me to say, so I'm gonna give them what they want.
Okay. Well, my parting thoughts for tonight, I want to express my gratitude for our guest and friend,
Thank you.
Amy Alsop. So a lot of people were saying a lot of things about Amy. Before her career, she mentioned also, like me, she was an English teacher. Granite City High School.
Granite City High School, 12 years.
12 years. So I don't know if you've ever taught this, Amy, but one of the concepts I teach in my English 4 class is the hero's journey.
Yeah.
Okay. And for those of you who don't know, it'll just be a little brief vocabulary reminder from your English class, but it's a story framework that a lot of popular stories follow. And I'm going to use that to try to kind of convey what Amy also has meant to 1272.
You don't have to do it.
No.
Thank you so much.
Amy has served as a mentor, and that's one of the parts of the journey, and a guide for so many of our local leaders, including myself. I wrote down in my notes here, she's sort of an Obi-Wan Kenobi or Athena kind of character, with so many skills and tools and wisdom that help local labor leaders like myself when we face some sort of call to action, something that we have to do that may just kind of seem out of our depth. Most of us are just teachers in classrooms, and we don't
say just.
Okay, I didn't mean just, but our typical job is not union work. And so we need people like Ray and people like Amy to help us. Her insights have helped me so many times. Part of the journey also is to cross, remember, the initial threshold, places of uncertainty to places of action, so that we can face the challenges and the ordeals that we face in our roles. So to put that into like context for Cahokia, she was with us for 9 days in a strike in 2007. She even brought her mom to be there with us. I know about trauma and how that impacts learning because of you.
Professional development.
Professional development, ULIs. There's so many meaningful ways that helps our students. Our mentor program in Cahokia could not have happened without Leslie Carter and without you. Okay. So many teachers have been supported because of Amy's work in our local. Cahokia was one of the first locals that ever in the state had to implement student growth. I can't even count how many hours we spent together with other people from Cahokia trying to figure out a way to make that work. I know I'm not just speaking for myself. I'm speaking for Brett Murphy. I'm speaking for Leslie Harder. We rely on her a lot. And so we are so appreciative. And Ray, I think you would probably agree with this. One of Amy's greatest strengths is her uncanny ability to sort of translate some complex thing, a union issue, a state regulation, a federal policy, some kind of crazy school code language that no one understands. And she makes it practical. She makes it actionable so that labor leaders can take it back to our members and to our schools and to our children. So tonight she did it again with the school report card, helping our students' voices be heard and our parents be heard on our podcast. So shout out to our friend Amy also for always being a mentor and an ally to educators and to unionists.
Thanks, Wendy.
Well, that was really good.
I prepared mine this time.
I know, I see that. I prepared mine as well.
Okay.
So it is interesting. I do agree with what you said because I called her, I think, about the same issue 3 times this week for her to explain pretty much the same
you
thing
did. It was
3 times. And the first time she was driving and explained it to me without looking at anything. So that reiterates what you just said there. So yeah,
But
absolutely.
Can I just say something, Ray? Like, Wendy, you go to work every day and then do this as your second job. And Ray, you work in Cahokia every day. I just
Mhm.
show up on occasion and do what I can. Like,
Do not minimize. You just told me not to
Do
jump.
Do
You're
not
right.
say
Okay.
just. Touche.
And all kinds of people are saying like, yay, like they all feel the same.
Yeah.
So thank you.
it's a team effort.
Yes, it is.
Okay, I love you both, so I'm gonna go a different here, but I just wanted
Okay.
to say that. I'm gonna talk mostly about accountability. It ties into what I talked about at the school board meeting, and I promise we're almost done. We're an hour and 11 minutes
Shoot,
in.
we're trying to get shorter.
I know, we're getting longer. I know. This was a really complex
It
kind of,
was.
so it's gonna be longer. So who I want to speak to, this is for anyone in 187 that in their title has the word superintendent, director, CFO, CBO, or manager. Right, I'm speaking to them.
Mhm.
And we're going to talk about accountability. Accountability, it doesn't announce itself. It shows up quietly in logs, in approvals, in emails, in timesheets, in paper trails, in public record. That's accountability. Strong organizations, unlike your district leadership, they don't fear documentation or accountability. They actually rely on it. It's what makes them strong. When rules only apply to some people, trust collapses. And you talked about that in your speech,
Yeah.
the collapsing trust, right? When oversight stops at the door of administration, the culture rots, which ties into what we talked about, culture and climate. And when the board and leaders stop asking questions or never ask a question, governance becomes theater. And that's what the say that word for me.
Governance.
Yes, is in CUSD 187. It's theater.
Mhm.
It's make believe. So this isn't about whether people feel uncomfortable. It's about whether systems actually are working the way they're supposed to in your district. Public institutions don't run on handshakes, on favors, and on assumptions. They run on transparency, on authorizations, and verifications. That's why we requested what we requested, especially when money, relationships, and power intersects. And those are the 3 things that intersect at the top of your district.
Yeah.
Every employee in this district knows what accountability looks like. You've seen it, you've lived it. So when the same standard isn't applied upward, people notice. And more importantly, people remember. Boards and leaders don't get judged by how well they protect insiders. They're judged by how they protect the public trust. They have to protect the public trust, especially when doing so is really hard, it's awkward, and it's, in your case, your district's case, politically inconvenient. And here's the part that no one can avoid, especially those ones with those titles that I said at the beginning. If leaders refuse to act when the moment demands it, they don't stay neutral. They become a part of the outcome. They become complicit in the issue. Silence doesn't preserve stability, it transfers responsibility. So the question moving forward isn't whether records exist. The records do exist. They exist.
They do.
It's whether anyone with authority inside or outside of the district is willing to follow them where they lead. Whether they'll follow them where they lead. It's accountability. History doesn't remember the people who stayed quiet to stay comfortable. We talked about it as whistleblowers, right?
Right.
It remembers the ones who either stopped the damage or you allowed it to continue. You either stop it or you let it continue. So choose carefully, because accountability doesn't need permission. It's coming.
It is.
And when it finally shows up, it won't be polite. It's going to be harsh. And when it shows up, her and I will be standing on the rooftop screaming about accountability and who was accountable. And when it arrives, it remembers who stood up and which one of you chose to look away. So with that said, Superintendent McCall, we're coming. Buckle up, Junior.